Hello, Laura. How are you?
Hello, thank you. Fine, fine, thank you.
Okay. Can you introduce yourself and your company and what role do you have in this project?
Yes, okay. My name is Laura Pasquardini. I am the CEO and co-founder of Indivenire SRL. That is a small company that help other company and research department in the research and development activity. Inside the FutureBio project, we prepare materials, both writing part of a book or doing seminar or preparing scenarios for virtual reality and so on related to the biodegradable plastics. And today I will speak about the application in a particular field. Of,
Yes.
yeah.
Okay. If you are ready, we can skip to your presentation, your topic.
Yes, okay. I will share my screen.
Okay.
Okay. So today we will speak about the application of biodegradable plastics inside the biomedical field. Starting the first use of plastic in general, plastic in this field arises at the Second World War when the pilot, after incident, had in his eyes some fragment of the plane dome, and the doctor observed that no infection occurs in this patient. So this kind of material, in that case was PMMA, was biocompatible with the body, with the human body. And starting from this observation, this material was subsequently used, for instance, for the production of contact lenses that nowadays is always used as material. Starting from this first observation, plastics have been used in a lot of different sites inside the body and with different purposes also. For instance, a part of contact lenses, it has been used for dental implants like restorative materials or for the hearing aid, for the production of earth valves, or for the presence of plates on the hip, or for the repair of meniscus, for the suture materials as catheters or stent to put inside the body. And all of these applications have been made of plastics. But for what concerns the biodegradable plastics, the first use was in the 60s when they were used for suture, as a suture film for the inside the operation. The biodegradable plastics are divided in three main classes. And the first one is the natural one, where we can find material that are natural produce, like starch, cellulose, chitosan, or protein, like collagen, albumin, gluten, and are naturally polymerized. In a second class, we found the semi-synthetic plastics that have a natural origin source, but they are chemically polymerized. In the last classes, we can find polymers, plastics, that are both synthesized and polymerized in a chemical way, like polycaprolactone, PVA, PGA, polyurethane, and so on. The requirement of this polymer for their application in the biomedical field are mainly related to their mechanical properties, their biocompatibility, their biostability, the rate of the degradation of these materials, and their processability. This material can be divided in two main classes that are the first one is short or long-term devices. So each kind of devices that stay in contact with the body for short term or long term, like a catheter, patches, and so on, or an implantable devices. The biodegradable polymers has to be selected keeping in mind its mechanism of degradation that strongly depends from the chemistry, the morphology, and the molecular weight of this polymer, but also on the environmental pH or temperature at the place of the insertion inside the body. The mechanism of degradation of these biopolymers are mainly related to hydrolytic process or oxidation or enzymatic process. But all the products of this degradation are non-toxic and are eliminated with a minimal side effect. There is a general scheme that is valid not only for the biodegradable plastic, but also for the plastic, but also for other materials in general that has to be in contact with the human body, and is the design of this kind of devices. First, we have to design and fabricate the implant that we need, and for achieve this issue, we have to choose the material that can be natural or synthetic, semi-synthetic, can be have a functional group, a specific functional group, and we also have to select the kind of the polymerization that we want to achieve. Then we have, based on this first choice, we have to select the proper biofabrication method that can be based on solvent casting, 3D printing, molding, photolithography, it depends. And these contribute to design the microarchitecture of our implant. Then we have to choose if we want to charge our implant with specific biological molecules like growth factor, peptides, cells itself, or drugs, for instance. Once we have designed and fabricate our implants, what we have to do then is characterize it. And we have to characterize by a biological, mechanical, and structural point of view, using a characterization in vitro, first of all, so on cell culture or small organ on a chip simulated system, for instance, and in this case, we have to evaluate the biodegradability, the toxicity, the immunogenicity and bioactivity of our implant, and also the mechanical strength, the modulus, the wall permeability. All of these characterization have to be performed in vitro, but also on in small point-of-care devices and in small animal model in vivo, evaluating the mode of action, for instance, of our implant in terms of release of drugs or factor, for instance, if we charge it, and monitoring the regeneration of the tissue around the implant and so on. Once we have designed, fabricated, and characterized the implant, we move on the final validation and translation on a large animal model, using, for instance, pig, monkey, sheep, and so on. And once is validated on this kind of animals, we can translate in the human body. And this is a general scheme that is valid for all the implants that have to be in contact with the human body. Now we come to some application of the biodegradable plastics that are the topic of our seminar. And in this first application, I reported the hydrogels that are one of the main application related to this kind of materials. In this work, for instance, they prepare an hydrogel charged with a specific drug for the cure of these tumoral cells, and monitoring the produce inflammatory mediators. They can have a response related to the therapy that they are applying using this kind of materials. And we can see here in this picture the state of the hydrogel that is lyophilized, and after the swelling in the specific under specific conditions. They observe that increasing the temperature of the solution, they obtain a transparent gel or an opaque gel, just increasing the temperature. It means that when they prepare at room temperature, they have a liquid phase. When they inject it, for instance, inside the body that is at 37 degrees, the soul completely gel in an opaque way. The cross-linking that is responsible for the hydrogel structure can be derived from a chemical or a physical forces, and it depends on the materials, for instance, that we are choosing, or the condition that we are applying. They, for instance, injected the precursor charged with isolated cells, with drugs, growth factors, and nanoparticles inside the body. And the cross-linking can occur by a chemical or physical forces. And this kind of hydrogel have been applied for drug or gene delivery, for the tissue regeneration, for the cell therapy, the tissue engineering, and immunotherapy. Another application of biodegradable plastics is related to the orthopedic implants. Here are reported generally use biodegradable polymers for this kind of application. And we can have here an example on the finger, for instance, finger cure, or on the hip, the plates on the hip, or placed on our column, like patches of biodegradable polymers. And different are made of different biodegradable polymers. In this example, for instance, they prepare an polycaprolactone and hydroxyapatite system for the artificial bone substitute. Another example is related to the tissue engineering. In this case, they use a natural biodegradable polymers based on chitin, and they compare different films produced by chitin or chitosan, that is the deacetylated form of chitin, or a photoactivated chitin, obtaining film, adhesive film to the skin, pretty compatible and stretchable with the very elastic with the same properties of our skin. Another example is based on polyhydroxyalkanoate scaffolds that can be used for tissue engineering, always based on scaffolds that can be charged with cells or drugs or other factors, fibers, or woven. Another interesting application of this kind of material is the nerve regeneration. In this work, they compare the bio-produced biodegradable material for the nerve regeneration, the sciatic nerve, with a silicone scaffold, with silicone guide. And after 8 weeks after the surgery, what they observe is that in the case of the biodegradable polymers, there is no observation of the polymer itself, but just the nerve looks like a new one, well reconstructed and well formed, while in the case of the silicone tube, we observe the permanence of the silicone, and the regeneration of the nerve was worse respect to the biopolymers one. Is really thin and not complete. And another example in nerve regeneration is this one, where the conduct of the nerve was charged with astrocytes and the gel that is refrigerated and create a sort of scaffold with a factor that allows the perfect regeneration of the nerve inside this channel. In conclusion, the biomedical application of biodegradable plastics are very large, starting from the tissue engineering, for instance. They are used for the production of scaffolds, sutures, and catheters. For what concern the drug delivery system, they are used for delivery vaccines, drugs, or proteins. They can be used for the building of channels for the nerve regeneration. They are used for the production of orthopedic devices for the ligament, meniscus, and cartilaginous reconstruction, for instance, or for plates. For cardiac devices, for the production of heart valves, stent or patches, infusion pumps, and also for the dental materials for the production of restorative materials and preventative materials. Sorry, I can't hear you. Okay.
Sorry, can you hear
Sorry.
me now?
Yes,
Okay, I'm
no,
sorry.
yes. Don't worry.
Thank you for your educational topic. We saw biomedical applications are like everywhere.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
it was
The,
lovely. Thank you.
you're welcome.
Okay, take care, you.
Bye.
Bye.